Everybody, this is Markus Vähälä from Finland, and we are now streaming live to YouTube. This is the first time ever we are No Labels, No Walls goes digital. So if you can find us from that link that Rafael will share with us on the chat, I would like to ask you all to share that link so people can watch. But we can also watch today's event later from this same Kukunori channel. So it's now 7 p.m. In Finland, it's 5 p.m. in UK, and it's 9 a.m. in Los Angeles. Hello world, my name is Markus Vähälä, coming live from Helsinki, Finland, from Kukunori. This is No Labels, No Walls Action Monday. And today's host, Cindy, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm also live from Espoo, Finland. And I'm going to introduce Erika Benke in a few minutes, but first I'm going to introduce, or you can introduce yourselves, everybody who's here. Start with Rafael.
Hello.
Just quickly tell who you are and where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Finland now. I'm very glad to be here. I'm supporting Kukunori and No Labels, No Wall network. So let's see what's going to happen. I'm looking forward. Thank you.
Welcome. And then Mary number one.
I'm Mary number one. I'm in Los Angeles. Hello everyone. Good to see you here, and can't wait to hear about the basic income.
Okay. And Mary Michael number two. No sound over there.
Yes, we're so happy. I'm just sharing stuff on Facebook. Really excited to see it from Stromberg. Thank you.
And Layla.
Oh, hello. My name is Layla, and I'm from Dover. I'm from the UK, and I go to Dover BMX, and I know Steve Perry.
Okay, excellent. Okay. And Riku.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Yes. I've been finishing my new solo album, and which is coming out very soon. And I'm also very excited to be here today and looking forward to a nice meeting.
Welcome. And Mark.
I'm Mark. I'm streaming from Glasgow. It's nice to be back again.
Welcome. Do you have snow in Glasgow?
What are you saying?
Do you have snow there yet?
No, we hope. I think we're going to get snow this week. That's what it's saying in the forecast.
Okay, thanks. Chloe.
Okay, bye.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm live from Glasgow.
Okay, welcome. And Pia.
Hi, my name is Pia. I'm from Helsinki, Finland. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Where's your red nose? You had it on yesterday. Now I recognize you. Okay. And Ines.
Yeah, I'm from Helsinki. Looking forward to, can't wait for the subject. I'm from no organization, just interested in No Labels, No Walls, and want to support it somehow.
Welcome. Cool. That's great. And Steve.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name's Steve. I'm from BMX. I'm streaming from Folkestone in Kent in the UK.
Welcome. And is that Kami?
Yes, hello. I'm joking now from Helsinki. Originally, I'm from Hungary.
Cool. And Keith. You're on mute. So Steve, did you disappear? You and your mute button. We'll speak to Simon first and wait for Keith to come back. Keith, you're on mute.
No, I'm okay
there
now.
He goes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm also coming to you from a non-snowy Glasgow tonight.
Okay.
I'm actually on my phone, which is I've never done it. I've never joined in on my phone before. That's why.
Okay. Yeah, it's tricky. I tried it last week. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Okay. And Simon.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm from Sheffield in England, the north of England, recently renamed Northumbria. So I'm from Northumbria.
Okay.
And I'm really interested in the topic. I'm a big fan of basic income.
Oh, excellent. Okay. All right. Thank you. Is that everybody, or is there somebody who isn't visible? It says 17 here, but I only see 16 pictures. Is there somebody hiding in the background?
Tim.
I think Tim is here, but he's
Tim is here. That's right. I saw him earlier. Tim, introduce yourself, please.
Tim from Finland.
Okay, fine. And lastly is Erika Benke, who is from London and is spending a year in Oulu, where it's a lot darker than down here south in Finland. And she says she's some snow, and she can introduce herself. She's going to talk about basic income, but she can tell you better about herself than I can. So welcome, Erika.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. It's lovely to be here. So as Cindy said, I'm a BBC News journalist. I don't know if you said it, but
I didn't.
I am. I'm a journalist with BBC News. I moved to London to work for the BBC 23 years ago. And until last summer, I was in London, but then I decided to take a career break. We call it a career break. Other people call it a sabbatical. So basically, it's a year's unpaid leave where you can go away, do something else, and then you can come back to the BBC and they keep your job. Of course, you don't have to go back, but that's the idea, that you can go away, do something else, get some, learn a language or get some other interesting experiences that would hopefully benefit the BBC. So I ended up in Oulu in the north of Finland, very far away from Helsinki. It is indeed very dark here. The sun goes down at 2:30 these days and comes up at about 10 o'clock in the morning. So we have about 4.5 hours of daytime, but we have a lot of snow. So it's not as dark as it probably than you think. So I'm loving it here, but I'm here to talk about basic income. So 3 years ago, I started covering Finland for the BBC. So I work in the newsroom in London, and when the basic income experiment started in Finland in January 2017, I was working for a program called Victoria Derbyshire Show, which you guys probably who joined us from Britain know. It's basically a 2-hour news and current affairs kind of program, Monday to Friday on BBC Two. So it's aimed at domestic audiences. But I was the only reporter on that program who covered kind of international news for them. And the basic income experiment started in Finland, and I thought it was a wonderful idea because at the same time there was a suggestion that Scotland might embark on a basic income experiment. So the Victoria Derbyshire editor was really interested in the Finnish experiment because we thought that it might give some insights or some ideas for the people who were planning the Scottish experiment. Now, the Scottish experiment never materialized. It's still in the process of being, they have just completed a feasibility study. But at that point in January 2017, they were already talking about it. So I pitched the idea to the BBC that I find 4 people in Finland who are on the basic income pilot and follow them for 2 years because it was a 2-year experiment. So I said, I'd come to Finland, interview these 4 people every 6 months to see if basic income has any effect on their lives, or if it does, what does it make their life better? Will they have a job by the end of the experiment? Because that was the big question. So the Finnish experiment was not a universal basic income experiment in a sense that not not every Finnish citizen was given a basic income. It was just a select few. So 2,000 unemployed Finns were randomly selected to be in this experiment, and they each were given 560 euros a month, every month for 2 years. Now, because they were all unemployed, the Finnish government wanted to find out, would this unconditional, no strings attached, basically free cash, would it motivate these unemployed people to find a job or to start businesses? So will they be back in the world of labor, as it were? The big difference between basic income and unemployment benefit at that point in Finland was that these people got the basic income without having to fill in any forms, without any obligation or promise to look for jobs at all. So it was absolutely no strings attached. Now, the 4 case studies that I was that I was following, they were 2 men, 2 women. 2 of them in Helsinki, in the capital of Finland, and 1 of them was here in the north, in Oulu, where I am right now. And the 4th one was in the middle of nowhere, in a very remote little town between Vaasa and Seinäjoki, in the middle of the country. I made 2 films, 2 documentaries, TV documentaries, half-hour long, one at the end of year 1 and one at the end of year 2. Now, I can't show you the full version because it's no longer online, but I also cut a social media version, which is 6 minutes long, and that's what I'd like to play to you. So it's 2 of my 4 case studies. One of them is a man, one of them is a woman. And let's watch it now. So let's see what happened to 2 of my case studies during these 2 years.
My name is Tanya. I'm 30 years old. I live in Oulu, in the northern Finland, and I have only worked 4 or 5 months in a factory. I don't remember the last time that I went to store and bought food. I get food from my mom. That's so embarrassing. That I want to work and I want to be able to go to the store and buy my own food and buy whatever I want. I want that cheese and I want to be able to buy the good cheese, you know?
My name is Tuomas Muraja. I'm a freelance journalist and an author. But I have been without work since 2013. I was a foreign news editor in the 3rd daily newspaper in Finland, but then they decided to put down all the section of the foreign affairs, so basically I lost my job. It's not easy to find a job as a journalist in the capital of Finland.
I took this job offer.
No moi! Tanja täällä soittaa. Hyvää päivää.
It's telemarketing.
Päiväkäyntiä.
I actually enjoy my job a lot. I love my coworkers. I love the office. I love the hours. And I just love to be being independent, earning my own money and standing on my own 2 feet.
kertoa? Sopiiko sellainen?
Basic income has changed my life. Without it, I couldn't have taken a job with a little lower salary. At first, I was quite skeptical about basic income, but then I realized it is actually a genius idea. I think I have turned my life around.
I'm still without a job. I can't say that the basic income has changed a lot in my life. Okay, psychologically, yes, but financially, not so much. I have still over 1 year to go, so anything can happen, so I'm quite optimistic. Let's see, during summertime next year, I'll have a job.
Oh my god, basic income is coming to an end. What do I do now? I'm so worried I can't pay my loans. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm so worried that my finances will collapse completely.
Hyvä, laitetaan hihna sulle.
If they don't give me the pay rise that I have asked, I will go to the internet and take the first job that I get. I will make tens and tens of applications so that I won't have to be unemployed for even one day.
It's very hard to say why I don't manage to get the permanent job, because I have applied over 80 times and only once I have been to an interview. Sometimes they suggest or they let me know that I'm perhaps too old, I'm perhaps too experienced. 2 years ago, it was like winning a lottery. The end of bureaucracy. I was free to concentrate myself to my work. Now I feel a little bit sad. And I got this letter telling me that it's going to end. Quite sad, but I'm not lost my hope.
Okay, I unmuted myself. Can you guys hear me? Great. So this is, oh, thank you so much, Pia. So one person in my video, as you could see, did get a job. Thanks to the basic income experiment. Tanya would have never taken that job because the salary was so low that without the basic income, simply it wouldn't have made any financial sense for her to take that job. But because she was getting the basic income payments, she did take it, and it, as she said, it turned her life around. Now, I was trying to get in touch with Tanya over the last few weeks to see what's happening to her, but I haven't been able to talk to her. I think she still has the job, but I'm not entirely sure. With Tuomas's dream is to be in a newsroom, to have a full-time job, a traditional full-time job. He doesn't want to be a freelancer. but he still hasn't got that dream job. He's still a freelancer, but he's managing all right. He gets grants to write books, so he's okay.
I'm still looking for work. I've been looking for such a long time. I live here in the UK, and I've been struggling for years and years and years. It's
to get a job.
To get a job, yeah. But when you have learning disabilities and learning difficulties, it's very, very hard to get an actual job, because in the UK, people don't really have the time to actually work with you or to show you.
Right. So the basic income experiment here in Finland, there were quite a few participants with learning disabilities and other disabilities, physical disabilities as well. And when I was researching the story, I talked to a lot more, obviously, not just the 4 people who were in the film. And one of them was one of my possible case studies was a woman whose son had major learning disabilities, and in the end she decided not to face the camera. She didn't want to be in the film. She would have done it for radio, but not for television. And basic income did help their life as well quite a bit. They were able to move out of Helsinki, which was always their dream, because their son was a lot happier in the countryside.
Yeah, in Finland, they probably work. All these European countries probably work differently to how the UK works.
Yeah, it's not easy. Do you think basic income would help you?
Yes. Yeah, and the government our government are a bit rubbish. They're a bit useless here in the UK. Your government probably works a lot better in Europe.
Well, the Finnish government, the government that launched the basic income experiment is no longer in government right now. So it was the previous government. Juha Sipilä's government ran this scheme, and I mean, this was an experiment, but it was a very brave social experiment. And in Finland, I really like that on every level of society, that there is definitely a drive to
experiment. Yeah, and there is hope, but you just got to find it. It will come, but you just got to find it.
Absolutely. So shall I tell you guys about the other 2 people whom I was following, just very briefly? So the 2 people who were not in this little video, one of them was a man in the middle of nowhere between Vaasa and Seinäjoki, and he was an unemployed artist. Well, he's an artist who was really struggling. He has 6 children, so a big family. And thanks to the basic income payments, he launched his own business. And he started something he calls an art B&B. So it's a little Airbnb with art. So you can go there and stay in beautiful countryside and learn art from him. And that's actually working out really well for him. Well, it did until coronavirus obviously hit. So that put a bit of a dampener on it. But so he did turn his life around in a sense that he did start a business thanks to basic income, which was doing reasonably well until coronavirus came. And then the fourth person is a bit of a success story. So it's Sini in Helsinki, who's a fantastically well-educated young woman who still didn't have a job. So when the basic income experiment started, she was unemployed. And with the basic income payments, she also launched her own business. She started a restaurant, which is doing reasonably well, even with in these Corona times. So in my little basic income film, so out of my 4 characters, basically 3 out of 4 did get a job or start a business by the end of the experiment. But unfortunately, that's not that wasn't the end result of the basic income experiment, which they only published in May 2020, so just a few months ago. So I don't know if you've seen it, but the main finding is that those people who were in the experiment, compared to the control group, only spent 6 more days in employment. So that's not exactly a major success story in terms of employment. So it didn't boost employment levels as much as probably the government was hoping for. But the significant change came in terms of well-being. So the people who got the basic income felt that their well-being had improved. They were less depressed, even less lonely, and they felt like they were more integrated in society. So psychologically, basic income did have a significant difference. It did make a difference to their lives.
Income and unemployment, which somebody would get if they are unemployed, was it on top of that, or was it larger? Or
yeah, so the basic income payments were 560 euros a month, and then the unemployment benefit, depending on your individual circumstances, of course, came on top of that. But to get the unemployment benefit, they still had to file like monthly, so fill in forms, go to interviews at the job center. Whereas with basic income, they didn't have to do anything. The money just appeared on their bank accounts. Okay.
Is there anything known about the reasons? I mean, I suppose they were all long-term unemployed, right?
Yes.
So is there any particular reasons why they were unemployed? Do you know anything about that? Was it just because their field of work was just, not working?
The reasons, I mean, they were randomly selected. Mm-hmm. So the Finnish Kela, the social security organization in Finland that implemented this pilot, so they just basically ran a lottery. It was like a lottery. So all the people who were receiving unemployment benefit in November 2016, 2016, so they just randomly selected 2,000. So they were very, for data protection purposes. When I first called Kela in January 2017 and told them that I'd like to make this film, and I said, would you be able to get me in touch with some of these people? They said, no, I'm really sorry. We can't give you any names. So I found these people, basically my Finnish colleagues, so Finnish journalists, started writing a lot of stories about it because it was a big story when it started, and I found the names in Finnish newspaper articles.
But now in the publication about the whole experiment and the findings, were there any common denominators between, was there anything that the people had in common apart from being jobless?
No, not they were completely randomly selected.
Yeah.
Joblessness was the only common criterion. So they were, I think, they were between 20 and 55 years old. So that was the and they had to be unemployed. That was the only two things.
Okay.
And Cami, you had a question. I just want to make sure it's answered on the chat.
Mhm.
You want to read it?
Let me see.
Cami wants to read it.
How representative is the experience could be viewed at the end? You mean, Cami, do you mean like these two people's experience?
I meant that, I don't know if I'm hearable. So I meant that because they have chosen all the participants randomly, and I felt that, okay, if it's so random, that how could you like conclude from these 2,000 people, like what would be the, you know, the outcome?
I see. Yeah, well, it was random, so I don't know, but it was, I think, because the people came from all over Finland. They were men and women in equal numbers and different ages. So some level of representation could be achieved, I'm sure. But it was not a huge experiment. But it was still the biggest randomized and also statutory experiment. So these people didn't have a choice, so they did receive the basic income. There was a law. The parliament passed a law about this experiment. So in that sense, it was a major step in the history of basic income, because there haven't been many experiments around the world with basic income, and this was definitely a big one.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So the Finnish government, there were expectations that they would, so the researchers who developed the framework for this experiment, they were very much hoping that they would be able to start a new experiment after this one finished. But well, I guess politics is always politics. They didn't, in the end, they didn't get the budget that they needed to launch a much wider one. I think the next experiment would have involved 20,000 Finns, but that didn't happen.
Simon, you had a question?
Yeah, so I'm part of something called the UBI Lab Network, and which is partnered with Citizen Network. And we have 35 UBI labs. So I suppose the first thing is we're really interested in finding journalists who are interested in basic income. So if I suppose the question might be, this is a question in two parts, is like, are you still interested in basic income, even if the Finnish pilot was only a modest success? And the second question is maybe to the group in a way, is we started this movement in Sheffield, actually, where I live in England, but now we have UBI Lab Iceland, UBI Lab Washington DC, UBI Lab Jakarta. So it'd be quite cool to have a UBI Lab Helsinki or Finland. So is there anybody, particularly in Finland, who would like to get involved in the movement for basic income, because it's growing very powerfully at the moment? So two questions really.
Well, I'm interested in everything. You know, I'm a journalist, and I loved working on this story. I love documentaries where you have real people talking about their lives. You know, there's a big decision from government, and government just kind of intervenes and changes your life. It's fascinating to see what effects, what impact it has had on people's lives here. So I love the story, and of course with coronavirus, basic income has become such a hotly debated topic again, because a lot of economists were saying, wow, if we had basic income in place, then all the hardship that people are suffering, people who are losing their jobs left, right, and center, if we had a basic income, that would be such a fair system to work from. And of course, I'm sure you've seen that the Spanish government actually started a basic income scheme in July. So the poorest families in Spain are receiving about €1,000 a month now. So the coronavirus pandemic actually pushed the Spanish government into this experiment, which is quite amazing. So I am interested in the story. I'm not sure when and where, at what point I'm going to cover it again, but I'm trying to follow it. You know, all the international developments.
Rafael, you had your hand up too at one point. Do you have a question?
Yes, I was just wondering if there is any number about the savings connect with health issues of the participants, because you said that was enhancing their well-beings. But yeah. I don't know if the government was just about job, or they were having statistics about if they were improving their health.
Yeah, but that's so difficult to put a figure on, isn't it? Like, how do you measure well-being? So no, they haven't published any figures or any stats on that. They only published that this was the main statistic that I've already told you, that the people who received basic income worked 6 days more than the control group.
There is some more, Erika, though. I just put the link in. There's some, so it's not financially Raphael's, it doesn't, but there's quite solid. That's why it was considered the sense of trust in society and mental well-being significantly improved. So, but yes, Raphael, they don't think they did any modeling of what was the saving to the mental health service or something.
For them, like that. If you don't need to go to a psychotherapist, it's like you're saving €300 in a section.
yeah, but I'm not sure if all these people would have needed psychotherapy in the first place. So it's just difficult to put a figure on it. I think it's actually impossible.
At least watching in your short video, the girl who was 30 years old, lived at home and had never bought groceries. She started out, it seemed quite grim, her future, and in the end she was quite optimistic. So it appeared to me that her well-being was enhanced.
Yes and no. So her well-being, of course, having a job just boosted her morale, and she actually became employee of the month at one point. So she sold more. So she was selling newspaper subscriptions. So basically, she was trying to persuade people who were subscribers to a certain newspaper, and they canceled their subscription. So she was calling these people and tried to persuade them to subscribe again. And she became, the best salesperson in the company in 1 month. So she was so happy and so proud. She was a different person when I met
that's
her.
what I mean. Yeah, she seemed it seemed like well-being was definitely a part of her story.
But that was like a year into the experiment. And unfortunately, when the experiment was coming to an end, remember, she was saying, oh my God, what's going to happen? I won't be able to pay my loans when the basic income payments stop. So she was quite stressed out at the end. And losing €560 a month was a huge deal to her.
And Daniel, you had a question on the chat. You want to say it, or do you want to just for us to read it?
I can do, yeah. Sorry, I came a bit late, so hello everyone. Yeah, I just said UBI. I've lost it now. Some arguments against UBI are that it is unworkable, as to fund it would involve tax increases. Higher taxes are said to discourage work, which then erodes the tax base. Another argument is that it harms the poor by shifting from target benefits targeted benefits, which help the most in need, to universal ones. Could you explain the main benefits of UBI compared to progressive taxes and means-tested benefits?
Well, the main benefits that I think most economists say who support UBI, because I'm sure you realize that half of the economists say, "Oh, this is going to save the world," and the other half say this is going to ruin the world, because no government can afford to pay UBI, so they would have to borrow so much money that in the end they just going to collapse financially. But the other half who support, they say, well, it will create a much more equal society and of course the other counter argument is that people are lazy and they won't get a job. They will just pick up the money and go home, buy some booze and watch TV. But I don't think it's true. Like most people I talked to, they said that they actually, I think everybody wants to work. We all need to be proud of something. We all need to achieve something. And I think very, very few people would just want to be sitting at home and not doing anything all through his or her life. But yeah, so as the Spanish example shows, UBI would be such a fantastic help in crisis situations like coronavirus, that you have something to rely on. You have a basic payment every month that would cover the basic costs in your life, and it would be a good tool to create, social justice.
Would that be for everyone, the whole of Spain, or is that for you?
In Spain, they are giving it to the poorest people.
So it wouldn't be a universal.
No.
Would more be
That's
targeted.
the thing. If it was universal, it would just cost so much money. I think the cost is the biggest issue here.
Yeah, because I think I followed Andrew Yang's sort of presidential run in America. He sort of he rebranded it so that it was a sort of freedom dividend that it would give 1,000 to each.
I think Bernie Sanders was also a supporter of basic income.
Yeah, I just wondered like how it would affect the poorer people if they just got 1,000. Maybe often they might get more than that. So,
yeah, well, 1,000 in the United States.
For example, yeah.
I think, Daniel, your people's income in the poorest 10% of the UK is very far below that. So people don't know how poor the poor are.
Yeah. Okay. But how would you fund that? For example?
Yeah, this is a whole debate, but personally, I think, as you say, you'd increase progressive taxation. In the UK, taxes are not progressive. So the richest 10% pay about 30% of their income in tax. The poorest 10% pay nearly 50% of their much, much lower income in tax. So the whole system basically is negative for the poor, as well as not giving enough money. People are taxed more as well. So, of course, it's about redistribution. And the question is, of course, some rich people don't want that, but some of us also recognize that actually equality is good for everybody, as science has proven that even the rich are happier with less money in a more equal society. They just don't think they are, so they vote Conservative, or they... So it's a battle for justice, and battles for justice have gone on for 200 years, and the rich always say, this will never work, it'll be too expensive, they're going to bankrupt us. Every single bit of social progress has faced that obstacle. Working 40 hours a week or a minimum wage, every single one of these things, that's what people have said. There's always been some economists saying, no, it can't be afforded. But of course it can be afforded. It's redistribution of income that belongs to all of us anyway.
You're right, Simon.
Michael Michael had his hand up, and then Pia. But Michael had his hand up first, and then Pia.
Yeah, it's nice to meet a fellow journalist. I'm a journalist in Scotland. My name's Michael. Funny enough, I just done a piece on Flag and Night. It went out on STV. But my question, really, from a journalistic point of view, was working on that kind of story. Was it did you get feedback, and was it powerful? Because I know over in Britain that when we have stories like this, they don't really get journalists. Sorry, people with a disability reporting on it. It's always mainstream people, and that's okay, but you don't get the full the full kind of like power, but because you know the obstacles that the journalists kind of like go through when you're covering a big story like that. And my second question is very quickly, I know I'm going off topic again a wee bit, but it's because I'm interested to know that how is it for journalism over in Finland for disabled people?
Sorry, so what was the first question?
Right, okay. Maybe it's my wonderful Scottish accent. I'll try and slow down a wee bit. So you were working on the basic income story. I wanted to know how powerful that was in terms of kind of like a disability journalist carrying that story to the mainstream population.
It was quite easy, actually. I didn't have any difficulties persuading my bosses to cover it. But I didn't have any disabled case studies. I was trying to get one, as I said. There was one person who was not disabled herself. She was in the experiment, but she had a disabled son. And I thought it was a lovely story that thanks to basic income, they could move from Helsinki to the countryside where the son was a lot happier. So that she was caring for the son, and basic income has changed their life because the disabled son got into a much better environment, to a much better school, and he was a lot happier. But unfortunately, they didn't want to do it on camera. I was really sad about that, because I would have loved to get them. It would have been a very strong case study, because basic income, it's not necessarily it changes people's lives for the better, hopefully, and it may not be money, it may not be a job or a business, it may just be a big psychological boost and well-being, and that's just as important as money, isn't it?
And my second, just a kind of comment or point, not really a question, because I kind of face this over in Scotland in terms of how does if people want to get into journalism over in Finland, is easy or difficult?
Well, to get into journalism, well, for me, it was easy, but you see, I started a long time ago. Maybe I think it's a lot more difficult now. There are fewer jobs, and there's a lot of competition. I mean, are you in Glasgow, you said?
Yeah, no, I was just basically asking because I did some work for the BBC 2 years ago, and I've just got a report from STV, sorry, Scottish Television, and that just went out on Friday night there. But I was quite happy because the producer wanted me to do it, because it was to tell a story about how disabled people are coping during the coronavirus, and because most people are losing their jobs as well, so they felt it was more powerful. And that was my whole kind of like question that I wanted to ask you as well. When you're covering a kind of like disability story, to me, I would think it would seem more powerful if they ask a person with a disability to cover the story, because they know what the interviewee is kind of going through on a day-to-day basis, you know.
No, I totally agree. I wish we had more disabled journalists at the BBC. We have a program called Ouch. I don't know if you're aware of that, which only has disabled journalists. So, I mean,
maybe you could put a link in the chat later if Michael doesn't know about it. Next was Pia, and after that, Riku's had his hand up for a while.
And yeah, also, yeah, okay.
But you can put a link in if you want to later.
Did you want to finish your sentence, Erika?
No, what I wanted to say, I saw a message from Riku.
Yeah.
Saying, I have 2 questions to Erika at one point. Yeah, a few minutes.
Yeah, Pia first and Riku.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, oh God, what was my question? No, basically, I just wanted to say that, you know, I think because it was mentioned earlier that people then think, oh yeah, they just lie on the sofa and drink or whatever. I think for everybody, in my eyes, it should be that, you know, if you're happy to work for somebody else and work 50 hours a week, then do that. But if that's not for you, then there should also be the possibility to at least have the minimum money you need to make a living. Because, you know, I for example disagree totally. I think working is totally overrated. You know, I want to be useful, I want to have a purpose, but that to me is not attached to working my ass off for other people. So for me it's much more important to have quality time, you know, work-life balance. So I'd rather work part-time and earn less than working full-time and I'd lose my hair. So but that's a choice, you know, I have that choice, but and I think everybody should have that choice. And in that sense, I think it's really important that taxing should be done in a way that if you earn less, you pay less. If you earn more, you pay more. That's just fair. And everybody who wants to work, yes, of course, do that. But if you rather do some theater or write a book or make music in the streets, then that's okay too. You know, if everybody is happy, then what's the big deal? That's the best thing that could happen to everyone, to all of us, if we're all happy.
Absolutely. And Cindy, my case study, who you didn't see in the film, that kind of flexibility was very important to her as well, because she has 2 elderly parents. They are both getting quite ill, and with basic income, she could create that work-life balance. She only worked 2 or 3 days a week, but then she had a lot of time to visit her parents and play a very active role in their care. And that made her happy. And if basic income can boost that happiness, of course, the whole society will benefit.
Absolutely. And Riku is waiting patiently. And then after that is Leila, I guess.
Okay. My questions are, the question number 1, how does the journalism, how is it different between the US and the UK? And my question number 2 is that what can BBC do for mental health illness and trainers?
Well, I don't know how what the difference is between the UK and the US, because I only worked in the UK. I don't really have any experience in America. I don't think there's a huge difference, but
yeah, I also mean the way of doing television. how it's different between CNN or BBC, for example?
Well, we have our editorial guidelines at the BBC, and we have some core values that that are at the heart of everything that we do, and one of them is accuracy. So we check and double check and sometimes triple check the facts, because we don't want to.
Yeah, that's very good.
And I'm not sure if how the BBC, how the CNN or Fox News, how much emphasis they put on accuracy. We do a lot. And then the other one is impartiality. So with controversial subjects, you show each side of the argument and let the listener or viewer to make up their own minds. So we are not trying to, so for instance, if I do a story about the UK elections, you should never be able to tell how I will vote. So the reporter, the journalist's own personal opinions should never ever be part of the story. So again, different media organizations have different rules, but we have these. So our three core values are accuracy, impartiality, and fairness.
And it's more practical to for BBC to do journalism than in America, right?
Oh, what do you mean by practical? Like easier or?
Quite practical to do it more like straight line do news streaming. It's more like that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we do, probably all media organizations do a lot more on the internet these days, don't we?
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
And sorry, I forgot what the second question was. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It was that what can BBC and you as journalism?
Oh yes, what can we do? Well, I just shared that link in the chat. So we do have a dedicated program for disabled, so issues affecting disabled people. It's called Ouch, and all the journalists who work there are disabled, I think. So we try to get their voices out.
Very good.
We do have, I do have quite a few disabled colleagues in the newsroom. Not as many probably as we should. You know, I think we need more because.
Yeah, I think so too. But you have a new fresh start there, so.
Well, we do have.
I'm happy.
We do have quite a few. Like I have a blind colleague who works on the World Service radio bulletins desk. So we have a dog in the newsroom, a guide dog. There's a lovely sight every time I go in and see the dog. That makes me really happy because.
Okay, I can understand that.
And there's Gary O'Donoghue, my colleague, who's a reporter in the BBC Washington Bureau. I think he's still there. Although I left for Finland 6 months ago, and I have to say I watch much. You know, I do still keep an eye on the BBC, but I do a lot less than when I'm actually working.
Yeah.
I think Gary is still there. So Gary is another blind journalist, and there are people in wheelchairs in the BBC newsroom.
Yeah.
So I think we do have. We have made a start, and we just probably should have more.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So does anybody else have any questions for Erika before her doorbell rings? She's expecting come. No, Neasley, okay. Go Neasley.
I've had my hand up for so long, I almost gave up. I just had a comment actually. Thank you so much, Erika. I really appreciate the reporting. I've been I've worked with chronically unemployed people for several years. And one of the things that a lot of times people don't think about is the psychological, emotional content of a person once they become unemployed. So study shows after someone has become unemployed after 3 to 6 months without any sort of, whether it's an interview, any possibility, whatever, there is a psychological thing that happens that or starts happening. And that kind of like, am I ever going to get a job? Am I good enough? Am I ever going to cut it? So there's all of that involved with someone who's chronically employed. I worked with a program where it was a select group of people who had been receiving aid for a long period of time. They put them into this program where I would train them, help them do job search, and get them off aid and into employment. It was very early in my career, and I did not understand the psychological component. What happened was all of the people, they were smart, they wanted to, but when it got to the point to actually let go of the aid and take the job, there was this fear of what if I don't make it? What if I'm not good enough? What if? And ultimately, one would say it was a failure, but then it wasn't, because at least they got to taste the possibility of what if I pushed through? What if I tried it? So there is that with, chronically unemployed people. And also there is the experience, knowledge, and the sort of like the capacity. And then the people that I work with, there's a whole other level of challenges, and that they were majority people of African descent. And so you've got the whole racism that underlines, so that even if somebody did want to push through, whatever, but they couldn't get that job, even if they were educated, even if they were, so you've got just a very small percentage of people who would be hired. And so there's a lot of levels when we're talking basic income, depending on where you're speaking to, there are other things that we have to look at, right? Um, how easy is it for this person to enter, that to push through that society, right? But you do have to provide some emotional support, have to touch on the psychological challenge that that person is dealing with. There's just a lot of other things. Whereas sometimes basic income overall is definitely a great idea, but there are times though, random basic income without any kind of support or without any kind of sort of direction and guideline can actually be more problematic than helpful.
No, I completely get it. You're absolutely right. My husband hasn't had a job for 15 years now. So he lost his job, and exactly as you say, the psychological, I mean, he now doesn't believe in himself. He thinks that he would just fail, and completely get it. And all these people I spoke to in Finland, I heard time and time again how fearful they were, that even if they enter the world of labor, they might fail and they might not be able to do a good job. And of course, the more time goes by, these fears just intensify. And I mean, they are starting, I think, here in Finland from January. Here in Oulu, there will be a new project whereby each person who seeks unemployment benefit will get some sort of personal coaching, some more personal attention from the job centers, and I'm really interested in that. So I will follow that up in January and see they are trying to look at each individual as not just as a person who wants a job, but like the whole holistic approach, see what his hobbies are, what the whole picture, and how they could help them.
That's good. I mean, we have something like that here with unemployment, except that I found that a lot of times the counselors, quote unquote, are so inept.
No, well, that's not good.
Right. Sometimes, I mean, I was, when I was, I mean, I'm still unemployed, but in a different way now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was unemployed, I went in and I'm sitting down with the counselors, and it was really, we should have just reversed chairs.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up doing, I ended up doing more coaching to the person that was supposed to be coaching me. And that was discouraging, because it's like, okay, what is this person going to help me with?
Where do you live?
Huh?
Where do you live?
I'm in LA. I'm in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
At the time I was in New York. Yeah, it was like, so how is this helpful to me? You know. However, I guess it's something. It's a start. Having coaching and understanding the emotional challenges, I think, go a long way, because we're going to need to do something once this pandemic is over. I mean, everybody's going to need some kind of help somehow.
Yes, we sure do. Unfortunately, we've run over time and we're going to have to wrap it up. So who would like to be the host next week? I recommend or suggest Ines, you're new here. Would you like to be host next week? If not, then I'm going to ask, how would Daniel like to? We can't hear you.
Usually I work, you see, this is like one of the times I've got a bit of time off, so I don't think I can guarantee I do it.
Okay.
Sorry.
What about you, Ines? Would you like to?
I won't be joining next Monday here in the UK because I will be doing something else, but my support worker will send me an email with all the information on it.
Okay, good. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks then.
What about Riku?
Or Rico, yeah, Ines, we didn't hear Ines's answer yet. She's muted. Otherwise, Rico, you're next.
Okay.
Rico, would you like to host next week?
Yes, my connection can be real a little bad from the summer cabin, but I can do it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Erika. And thank you everybody else for being here.
You're very welcome.
Guys, it's fun.
I'll see you next Monday.
Next Monday, we will have creating the anthem with BMIC. So same time, same place. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much, Erika. I hope to see you with us later on really as well, and in the festival next year.
Thank you very much.
See you
Have a
next
lovely
Monday.
evening.
See you next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This was so nice. It's a shame I won't be here next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.